Give us all the information from July, everything you've got on that business. If you did a some sort of a business analysis prior to going into it to float loans or whatever, just anything. Give us the information you have so that we can see what the business is actually doing, where you are anticipating it going. Try to help us develop those trends. Net. Pardon? We're looking net profit plus continuing expenses, but you may not necessarily be in the red on the profit sheet, but you have those expenses that we can look at, and if we owe you for those continuing expenses, that may be something. You know, it's a matter of crunching the numbers and seeing where you are and coming up with a realistic and fair settlement.
One of our biggest areas, particularly for this new business, is what I call oil loss mitigation. We're doing a lot of advertising out of area and trying to get business in for that. I've been keeping track of that, and for my main business, I've been submitting that with the copies of all the invoices.
Right.
It's a separate line thing. But for this new little business, it doesn't have as many. It's mostly man hours that are going into it.
Sure.
Because it's an online publication.
Right.
And we're constantly providing tremendous everyday coverage of the oil spill stuff in the area for the tourists and all that stuff. So we're really mitigating more than just our own. It's for a lot of our existing clients and other people. They can go there and they can learn about what's going on with the oil in that particular area. And so I talked to the guy about that claim, but he was like, I don't know. But to me, that's mitigation is what we're talking about.
Right.
And that's my biggest expense.
And again, you need, on the mitigation side of things, you need to track your expenses on the mitigation. Make sure that you're submitting something in writing to that. Just don't talk about it. Submit some sort of documentation on that. Let's get that in the file, and it needs to be addressed.
The other issue I have is that they want to base a lot of things on last year's financials, and last year was a horrible year for everybody.
Right.
And so I'm like arguing with them about it because we were trending this year on my main business up considerably. I'm trying to convince that. But the guy that I talked to in Hammond was like, well, last year compared to last year. I'm like, no, not compare this to last year. You know, what can you do?
How'd you do? Take a look at your 09 was down. Take a look at 08.
08 was real good.
08 was good. Ask them. Tell them, said, look, I want you to look at 08 and 09. Now, that's why the P&Ls are real important. The P&Ls, we're looking at we use the P&L, the monthly P&Ls to do a 24-month trending. All right, so that takes you back into the 08 category a little bit. But definitely let them know, say, look at my first 3 months. First 4 months. First 4 months of this year, we were trending upward. That should be obvious. Have that conversation with them, and hopefully that'll push it through. Anything? Sir?
I'm a little confused on the Hammond and the stations you have here because I called and got my claim number, and it said the adjuster would call me in a week. Well, I never got a call, and my employees are getting calls within 24 hours. So I called them back, and go on the phone and said, and I explained this to her, and she gave me a list of things and told me to send it to Hammond. She didn't tell me to go to an office, and the adjuster never called me.
Your claim, for some reason, your claim may have gone directly straight, or may have gone straight to Hammond for whatever reason.
Well, I haven't filed anything yet. I'm still waiting on my taxes.
Okay. If when you file a claim, if that goes straight into the central office, if you'd rather talk to someone down here, come on in.
Yeah.
Come in. Because the way the system's set up, I can go in there and I can pull up any claim from any location at any time and get a good history on what's going on with that claim.
So should I go ahead and send it to Hammond, or should I take it?
If you'd like to come into the office, come on in. I don't want to get into numbers here in an open forum like this, but at a certain level, your claim would go to Hammond anyways, depending on the size of the business. But you'd certainly come in, and if you have your documents, rather than mailing those to Hammond, I mean, your documents, you do with them as you want.
Yeah, that's what.
When they're in my hands, we take responsibility for them. We can, if you bring them into the local office, we can at least scan them for you, and then have them couriered up, rather than you put them in the mail or UPS or anything like that. We're trying to help you protect your documents. Someone over here. Yes, sir.
For, you mentioned employees, for employees that have been, businesses that have laid off some employees or have been working with independent contractors and let those people go, should those folks, those employees or independent contractors make individual claims, or can the business make a claim on behalf of them?
They should file individual claims. We were looking at trying to continue the payroll on businesses, but that becomes rather cumbersome, because you then have to supply us with documentation showing that the employees are being paid. Better to let them come straight into us. Yes, ma'am. You had a question?
If you do get a check or anything, by cashing that, is there any things attached to it, like you waive rights to
No.
file another?
No. I'll say, I know where you're going. I don't mean to interrupt you. Cashing a check is not waiving any of your rights. You'll note that when you get these checks and when you look at the documentation that we're filling out, we're stating that these checks, or this money that we're issuing, is an advance to your total loss. Okay? That one check is not necessarily going to be your total loss. It might be. We don't know. But if it's not your total loss, you prove the case, there's other monies coming. So then, no, that's not a waiver in any way. Sir, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, a little different subject, but it relates to forecasting and quantifying the claim. There's your thoughts on everything else, but to what extent would you like folks to come to try to quantify their claim versus just presenting you with the records and letting you figure out what their loss is?
I see nothing wrong with you giving us, in fact, it's a good help. You tell us what you feel your loss is. In fact, a letter on the top of your documents is not a bad idea. Give us a narrative on how this has impacted you and your business. Give us an idea of what you feel your loss is. I'm not going to say that gives us a target, but it gives us an idea of what you feel. Who in this room knows your business better than you? You guys know what your business is doing. You know where your business is going or heading. Tell us that. It helps. It definitely helps. Sir.
For individual employees, should they bring like pay stubs or tax returns, or what exactly?
Once again, any documentation that will help prove your loss. 1099s. Again, the pay stubs will help. Prior income tax records. Just whatever it is that's going to help prove what your income was and where you are now. A letter as to why you're in that position. As an employer, if you're having to lay people off or reduce their hours, it would be great if you could give your employees a letter to that effect. Let us know that because of the situation, we're having to reduce these hours, or we're having, normally they would be at 40 or 50 hours during the tour season. They're at 30 or 20 or whatever, or we had to lay them off. Let us know that. Anything else? Sir?
Deadlines or limitations on the box?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. Again, if you feel like you have a claim, I'd encourage you to go ahead and get a claim in, get a claim number, get yourself in the system. Even if it's not active, you'll be contacted. We'll let you know, hey, this is what's going on, and you can let the adjuster know at that time. Say, look, I'm not sure that I'm going to have a claim at this point, but I want to be in the system. I've got several of them that are like that.
Is the compensation based on year backwards, year forward, or as far as losses we lost up until August, or losses we're going to lose through the winter?
We're going to look at the numbers on a month-to-month basis and see where we are. Obviously, in this area, what would you guys say? 80% of your business is done during this tourist season. You know, and that goes on till first part of September. Till October? Okay. So, you know, yeah, we're going to continue looking at it. As he said, BP is planning on being here, which means we're planning on being here. We're going to continue working with you as long as it takes to get this right. That's our goal. Yes, ma'am. Too long. Santa Rosa Beach is opened at 8 a.m., closes at 7 p.m. every day, 7 days a week. 7 p.m. to 8 a.m. Now, there's really no rhyme or reason as to when we get busy. You would think there'd be a pattern, but there's really not.
Yeah, I've noticed when it rains, they seem to do this. Because I think people can't be out working, so they...
Well, come on in, you know, hey, we're dry. Anything else, folks? Yes, ma'am.
When you give employee information as part of the documentation, should you black out each person's social security number, or is that something that you'll need
We'll need the Social Security numbers, yes,
for the employees?
for the employees.
This documentation is provided.
I would, go ahead and leave those in, leave that active. But we will need those numbers, and we can use your documentation to cross-reference to the employees if we need to group them together for whatever reason.
Isn't there some sort of legal issue with that, giving people private personal information? You're giving out social security numbers, things like that to a person who has the right to privacy.
You know what? I can't. I really couldn't answer that. I'm not a lawyer. Well, you know, if you feel, if that's the case, and if you check with your attorney, whatever. If it needs to be redacted, then go ahead and do so.
And if you'll hold on to